Hypothetically, let's say you're a handheld gamer who wants to play a great racing game. With the PlayStation Vita, you've got Wipeout 2448 and Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012. With the Nintendo 3DS, you've got Mario Kart 7. While no one is saying that these aren't great games, if you look at the Nintendo Switch, you don't have a lot going for you, at least until later this week when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe releases. In the meantime, though, there was one racing game that came out at launch. It is a remake of a Wii U game called Fast Racing Neo, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Here is my review of the Nintendo Switch sort of exclusive Fast RMX. Now, Fast RMX is what I'd call an arcade-style racer in the vein of Wipeout. Imagine Wipeout, remove the weapons, increase the pacing, and you've got Fast RMX. You're flying anti-gravity vehicles through huge racetracks at breathtaking speeds, plus a little strategy thrown in with boost pads. But I'll get to that in just a moment. First of all, this is a remake of Fast Racing Neo. As such, it contains all of the original content of the original game, all of the DLC, plus 6 new tracks, making it somewhat of a definitive version. Plus, it only costs $5 more than the base of the original game, not even counting all the DLC. So you're really getting the best deal here if you own both systems by getting it for the Switch. When you go into the game, you've got a few game modes to go through. You've got Championship mode that lets you go through tournaments and unlock content. You got multiplayer that, as you'd guess, lets you go online or do local multiplayer with someone in the room with split screen. You've got Hero mode that lets you do tournaments with a survival element, with having an energy shield, which encourages you to do really well and not hit the walls. And plus you've got the newly added Time Attack mode, which lets you do time trials by yourself in each stage and each course. So with that last update, you've got 4 different game modes you can go through. Now, no matter which one you choose, you basically go in, choose a tournament, choose a vehicle, and go at it. Note that you have to choose a tournament outside of select modes. When you do the tournament, you have 3 different racetracks you have to go through, and you can't stop and just play one of them. You have to play all 3 of them. And based on how you scored in each individual one, your points are added up and you are thrown into the final points for actually winning the tournament altogether. Now, when you actually go into these races, outside of time trial where you're by yourself, you're racing all of these other opponents through these racetracks. The main gimmick of Fast RMX is that there are boost pads that are colored blue and yellow. If you hit these boost pads while you are that same color, you'll get a boost. But if you're not that color, then you will automatically hit your brakes. The strategy element is to see the boost pads and hit that button to switch your color on the fly so that you can get all of the boost pads to get as much speed as possible. And while you hit these boost pads, you also build up a gauge of nitrous, let's call it, that lets you manually boost in certain parts of the courses to gain an advantage. Now, the big thing that's a problem is the difficulty. Well, I shouldn't say difficulty, it's more rubber banding. If you've never heard the term before, rubber banding is when racing games adjust to your skill to make sure that it's always a challenge. If you've played one of those racing games where you'll get an early lead and suddenly 2 or 3 slow vehicles will suddenly catch up to you and start passing you, that's rubber banding, which is nothing wrong with rubber banding. But rubber banding in this game takes it to a cheap level. To get an example, a lot of the time when I would gain an early lead, or just a lead in general, the other racers wouldn't catch up to me. They would appear in front of me. As in, not passing you, as in, the AI would literally teleport from way behind you to either right in front of you or really far in front of you. And that is why I consider this a very cheap maneuver. Because racers catching up to you, you can just adjust to with skill. Teleporting is just cheating, and that's extremely hard, especially when they do it right at the end of a race and they cost you those 1 or 2 points that you need to unlock the next race. Now finally, as far as time goes, a perfect run of the game, which no one can ever do, would likely take you about a few hours to go through, given all of the tracks that you can go through, all of the unlockables that you can get. It took me a few hours just to pass the first couple tournaments, and that's only about 1/5 of the game. So most likely you'll be spending at least 10 or 15 hours just trying to unlock everything, accounting for the number of tracks, adjusting to each track and learning each track, and dealing with all the rubber banding. So you're going to be spending quite a bit of time if you can deal with that rubber banding. Though technically if you just want to do time trials, you don't have to worry about it because you're the only one on the track. Now, the presentation. The game looks beautiful, docked or undocked. The environments, the shadows, the renders, all of it looks so nice, in depth. It doesn't look really much different than a racer you'd play on the PS4 or Xbox One. That's just how good it looks. And the better part about performance is the fact that there's an algorithm in the game that locks the game to 60 frames per second. In handheld mode or docked mode, there's an algorithm in place that is set to automatically reduce the game's resolution if the frame rate's about to drop. So if you like high frame rate, you're going to get 60 FPS from start to finish. Now with battery life. This is a 3D game, so I was kind of thinking that we wouldn't get very much battery life out of it, especially to the level it is. During races, here are the battery times I got from 100% to 0%. With maximum brightness and the Wi-Fi on, 2 hours and 30 minutes. With max brightness and the Wi-Fi off, 2 hours and 46 minutes. With the brightness down with the Wi-Fi on, 3 hours and 3 minutes. And with low brightness and the Wi-Fi off, 3 hours and 20 minutes. So my expectations were pretty on the dot. You're going to get about 2.5 to 3.5 hours out of the game in handheld mode. That's not a lot, but considering each race only takes about 5 or 10 minutes, it works well for quick play sessions. Just note that in the long run, you're only going to get a few hours out of the battery life. In conclusion, Fast RMX really does live up to its name of fast. Although there's a really unfair level of rubber banding that makes the game really, really frustrating to play. It's intense, it's fun, and anyone who loved the Wipeout series, it should keep you very busy and very entertained, especially if you go for multiplayer as opposed to fighting the AI. Reviews to go rates Fast RMX a 9 out of 10. If you'd like to comment on this further, feel free to below, or head to the website at www.reviewstogo.com.